Good afternoon, everybody. This is Lauren Cohen, helping people invest, live, work, and play across borders. I'm an international lawyer and licensed realtor, and I am here today with my guest on investing across borders, Laura Alamery. Laura is and has been a real estate investor for over 30 years. She now mentors new and experienced real estate investors, not just nationwide, but globally, just like me. Laura has experience in all aspects of residential real estate, from wholesaling to buy and hold to fix and flip to raising private money, which is a big deal these days. From acquisition to disposition of properties, Laura has a team of investors and partners with a proven track record who can do it all, just like me. So we are great partners. Laura, please describe your experience in investing, in real estate investing, and how did you get started?
Yeah, well, thank you, first of all, for having me on this podcast. I am actually originally from Italy. I came to United States in 1985, and I actually started in Hawaii. I was there from 1987 to 1991, and I became a licensed broker in Hawaii, and I started dealing with residential real estate, but also started buying my own properties, fix them up, and flip them. So I started with a townhouse in 87, then upgraded to a house 18 months later, and real estate was going really crazy in Hawaii at that point. The prices were doubling every year. And by 91, when I moved to the mainland, I had quite a bit of capital, and I started buying rental properties. So I got into rental properties, but also doing a lot of the creative financing strategies like wholesaling, lease options, and also subject to contract for deeds and all kind of owner financing. So I accrued a portfolio of over 16 properties in about 18 months.
Wow,
And
that's aggressive.
yeah, all multi-families, by the way, from 2 units to 8
Nice.
units. So I had over 40 doors. And then I went into fix and flipping as well. And by 95, now wholesaling was still not really a well-known strategy. Then I started wholesaling around 94, 95 as well. So I went in buy and hold, fix and flip, and wholesaling. So I kind of went backwards into it. And then I went into private money syndication back in 2001, which was raising private money. And then we started also buying at auctions and doing new developments. So I've done all kinds of different things along the way.
How many countries, have you worked with? In other words, how many people from how many countries? You mentioned international. Is there any country you really don't touch or are hesitant about or anything like that?
No, most it's been Canada. You know, United States had a lot of people from Canada that want to invest here, and
I wonder
also
why.
right, and also from Europe. I've had several from Europe. Now, living here in South Florida, of course, we have a lot of people from South America. They want to invest in South Florida as well. So
Right.
I would say Europe, Canada has been a big portion, and some from South America as well.
Cool. So when you bring together your team, which is probably a turnkey team, what's the most important piece for you? Is it price or value?
As far as
The service providers, like, do you shop based on the price or the value? In other words, if you had two service providers, but one was more hands-on and charged a higher fee for that, what would you think is more important when you're delivering the service to the end user? Is it value or price?
Well, definitely what, is value, I would say. That sometimes you want to cut corners on price, but you don't get the right value. It's like with real estate, right? Yeah, you can get the most affordable type of real estate, but then it's also the type of property that probably will give you more problems in the long run. Sometimes you pay a little more to get a better quality.
Absolutely. I think it's quality over quantity, and I'll take quality
Correct.
any day of the week.
Yeah.
Tell us about a faux pas that you made in your earlier days of real estate investing. Was there some big mistake or aha moment that happened for you?
I think a lot of time don't follow in my gut feeling on things. I think women, we have a keen
100%. I'm with you there.
we have a keen thing about having a gut feeling. So with all the knowledge you get and acquired knowledge, at the end of the day, what does your gut tell you? Is this a good deal? Is this something you should move forward to? And I think not trusting myself and listening to other people that were not an expert in real estate, but they thought that they had a saying into it was probably one of my mistakes. However, the best thing I've done is also being around the right people. Being around people that were very inspirational. They were very go-getters. Like when I was in Hawaii, I worked in this real estate company. There were 75 agents and 74 were women, but they were, and they were ahead of their times, but they were very aggressive. They were go-getters. And actually last year I went to Hawaii and I met up with one of my original mentors. She's 91 years old.
Oh my goodness.
And she's still active in real estate.
Wow.
She is a luxury real estate broker on the island. And the moral of the story is that you've been in real estate, you live a long and happy life. And she still remembers me from back in the 80s. But I was around a lot of the right people too. I think that's what helped me to really get me on the right path to success.
Yeah, 100%, because they say that you're defined by the 5 people that are closest to you, both in family and professionally. Do you still have your real estate license?
Not right now. I've had a license in Hawaii, Missouri, New York. I live in Florida. I'm not licensed here. I still do business in Missouri as well. Mainly, I've done business in Pennsylvania recently, and I do business in Florida. But yeah, I don't hold my license at this point. As an investor, I feel like I can move more freely without having a license, especially when you deal across several states.
Yeah. Well, it really depends on what company you're with and what your goals are. I've had my real estate license for 13 years, and I've, until very recently, not even written a deal. I'm a referral agent, and I love referring business. I'm a great connector, and we'll get to know each other better and be referring a lot of business back and forth. So, and I'm very excited to finally actually be putting my license to use. So I guess we're kind of in the opposite direction there, because I haven't used my license and now I am, and you're not licensed anymore. But maybe we can talk you into that.
I've been thinking about it, but it's easier to sometimes deal without having a license.
Yeah, I know. As a lawyer, believe me, I know. Sometimes there's so many restrictions on what you can and cannot do. And a lot of people that don't have their law license are actually really doing a lot more, let's just say, than I am because of my license. It's kind of crazy. Was there anything in your background, especially coming from Italy, that prepared you? Did you grow up with real estate, or what prompted you to make that first investment, or was it just a gut again?
Honestly, I can't really think that far back as far as what prompted me. I'll say that living in Hawaii and seeing all the wealth around me and seeing that a lot of the people that were making money had been in real estate.
For sure.
And there were talk all over at the end of the 80s, like I said, within about a year, prices doubled. I bought a townhouse for $108,000 in 87, sold it about 15 months later in 89 for $240,000 without doing almost any work to it. And then I took this money and bought a house for $340,000, sold it a year later for $435,000. And then took the money and bought into a probate, and I made $75,000 flipping the contract. But what was happening right there, it gave me, with real estate the way it was, I saw that was the closest path to start making money. As a college student back then, I was looking to really not get student loans. I said, well, this sounds like a good business for me to do whenever I have time available and build up some capital. But obviously, that ended up being much more than just building up some capital. It became my full-time profession.
Yeah, so what you're dealing with, obviously mostly Canadians, but people from all over the world. Why do you think real estate is good for pretty much anybody, especially in the US? Like what is it about real estate that's so appealing, would you say, for anybody from anywhere?
Well, there's so many ways to make money with real estate, right? So it's really about, first of all, what is your interest? Are you looking for immediate capital? Are you looking to build more of a residual income? What is really your interest right now? And then you can choose the strategy based on what your goals are. But one of the things I like about real estate, when I started real estate, I was only 23 years old. As a college student, it was a way for me to say, I can get into a business without much money, without much capital, and really build up a career. And that's what I did. I started as an agent, but then I quickly switched to an investor, especially when I saw my own townhouse built, having more than $100,000 gain. That sold me to say, this is a good business. If I can do one of these a year, I'll be doing well. And so that's what they really sold me into it, that anybody can start in real estate from any country, can come to America and start in real estate and make so much money. You don't have this opportunity anywhere else that I know
No,
of.
especially we'll talk about Canada so in Canada, other than in certain places like as we discussed, we have a coaching program in Canada and the US, but we teach people mainly how to invest in what's the equivalent of subject twos in Canada. And there's only certain places where those are going to be viable depending on the equity and the upside and so on. However, the prices in Canada are often cost prohibitive in terms of your ability to get into real estate investing, because not everybody can afford a $500,000 average price point house as an investment property. Whereas when you come down to the States, you can get 3, 4, even 5 houses for that same amount of money. And suddenly you're dealing with an economy of scale, and the volume and the opportunity becomes that much greater. So even if one property isn't increasing in value as much, you're going to have cash flow from the other properties, and it's going to all turn itself around. So it's a really important thing. Like there's a lot of, and on top of that, there's a lot of places all over the world where the economy, despite COVID and all the impact in the US, the economy here is still strong, and real estate will always come back, right? That's not true everywhere. And people need something secure, and real estate is a tangible asset, unlike other stocks, for example, that suddenly took a huge hit, because real estate will always come back. Not every cruise line stock or travel industry stock is going to come back. So it's a matter of deciding where to put your money and diversifying your interests as much as possible. So Laura, what are you most proud of, would you say, in the real estate world, of course?
I would say being able to reinvent myself, to be in a business as long as I have, over 30 years, and going through a lot of recessions and changes in presidency and economy, everything going on, and always trying to reinvent myself, staying ahead of what is going on right now, looking always into the future, what is the next best thing. I'm actually doing researches right now, what is going on in 2021, so I can position myself better as a real estate investor to take advantage of some of the little things that are going to be happening. Although there is not going to be a bubble crash like everybody thinks. I really don't think so. There's a much different scenario today, what was going on in 2007, 2008. And so to understand those and position yourself and getting into the next best thing is what is going to make you survive and thrive as a real estate investor. And that's what I think I've been doing well over the last 30 years.
Yeah, being ahead of the curve, anticipating the changes before they occur. Yeah. What are the 3 best tips of advice that you would have for a foreign investor investing in US real estate?
I would say definitely find an attorney, somebody that can help you set up the correct business entity.
Correct.
Right? That's just so important, because you really don't want to get yourself in trouble. You really don't want to cut corners here in doing something that's going to get you in trouble where you're going to
So many do. And they invest in their personal name, and then there's huge tax implications. And look, Canadians are probably the most guilty, because what happens is there's so many, this, Laura, I'm preaching to the choir. Canadians are hugely impacted by American real estate investment companies that offer turnkey investments. And then the Canadian invest, and they think that they're getting all these tax breaks and benefits, but then when it comes time to file their taxes in Canada or another home country, but Canadians just happen to be the most, the easiest because of, our proximity and so on. And you're hit with this huge tax bill, and there's no recourse. You can't go back and say, well, you told me wrong, because the reality is you needed to get that tax advice. And so
Right.
it's exactly what you're saying, that tax advice, that corporate advice, what entities do I set up? How do I set it up? Where do I set it up? It's a strategy. So
Yeah.
I totally agree that that first tip, you've got to set up the correct structure. And the
Right.
next one?
I would say that that one is the number one, to set up the correct structure, and then invest in somebody that knows the market, because real estate in the United States is much different than real estate in Canada, real estate in France, real estate in Italy. They're all different markets. They're unique to that country. So
Mhm.
you need to find somebody that can guide you locally on what you need to do, from how to find properties, how to evaluate properties, how to write the contracts, and so forth. You can't just say, okay, it's the same everywhere. It's not.
Or pull it off the internet.
Right.
Don't
Exactly.
do that.
No, exactly. Yeah, you need to find somebody that has the experience and that has worked across borders, in
Right.
different capacities. But definitely, first of all, get your ducks in a row, get your right business entity, get the right tax advice, and then you can move forward and find somebody that can teach you with the local what works actually in this country.
Yeah,
Because
perfect.
I cannot teach how real estate works in Italy. I have no idea.
Well, I know how real estate works in Canada, and I do know how to teach you how to invest in certain properties. But if you want me to advise you on why the Canadian real estate market, especially in Ontario, is so crazy, I would go back in time to when I was a kid and my mom was selling real estate, and it was still just as crazy then. And that's a long time ago, longer than I care to remember. So, Laura, do you have any parting statements or parting thoughts for our listeners?
Well, the best thing I can tell to anybody is really, you're never going to know everything about this business. It's just take one step at a time, and but get your bases covered. That's very important. And then don't try to reinvent the wheel. This is a business you can make a lot of money, but you can also lose a lot of money. When I started here in this business, it took me about 8 years, from 87 to 95, to really build a business where I feel like I could rely on full time.
Yeah.
Before that, it was more like a touch and go, do a deal here, do a deal there. But to build a business where every year I have a certain type of income, it took me about 8 years. Now I can get my students to do that in 6 to 12 months.
Nice.
So
Because you're guiding them.
right.
You're
Because
holding their hand.
Right. I've tested it. I know what works. I know what doesn't. We are always revamping our marketing, our way to do leads. Right now, the way we find leads is not the same we used to do a year ago because of all that's been going on this year. So, don't try to, you can go on YouTube and listen. You can go on all these podcasts and learn. You get a general idea. By the end of the day, it can be very risky to get your strategy because you don't know whoever did it really tested them.
Right.
So that's the biggest thing I can say. Be careful.
Be careful. And also, once you commit to somebody, to working with somebody, stick with them. Don't forum shop. Don't say,
Right.
oh, well, this one said this and that one said that, because you're going to make yourself crazy. It's kind of like when something happens to your child and you look it up online. You're going to be overwhelmed with the answers. They could have pleurisy, God forbid, or whatever, and this whole thing with COVID. Oh, I have COVID. I do this. I have that. You can make yourself nuts. So, right. Laura, how do people reach you?
Well, my main website is lauraalamery.com. So that's Laura, LauraAlamery.com. And you can find I have a lot of different articles and training. It has a lot of information. It's been around for about 10 years now. And you can go on the website. And as I said, I have a lot of different articles. You can also contact me through the website. You can also download a free ebook that I offer about the 7 steps to real estate investing, how to set up a business, especially virtually. We're doing a lot of virtual investing right now and even moving forward. So there is a free ebook that you see right on the homepage. Please download it. It's really about how to get the system set up.
Laura, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure. And we'll be posting this soon and look forward to connecting with you further. So thank you again. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks for having me today. Thank you.